Can I get a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
It's been-
Malinowski moved.
Okay, got a motion, it's been properly second. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? First item, there was no actions taken in executive session. First item. First item, A. 3A,
3A, yes, that was to give legal advice to the council and give us some direction as it relates to that.
I move that the council direct the administrator to affirm the issue that has already been previously discussed by council and communicate that to the party who was requesting action.
That's the second requirement? That's the second requirement? Motion. Is that a motion?
He, I think, was in a position.
what are you asking?
I think he was being asked to respond. What? Don't you feel like you're?
Yes, I do. I do owe the requestor a response to the request.
But an action of the body has to be taken.
Hey, I'll leave that to you. I feel like the discussion in the executive session meeting was pretty clear as to where the council stands on this. If you want to vote for it, I think that would be great. I think it'd certainly solidify where you are. Yes.
All right,
Do we vote?
I got a motion, it's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 3B.
Mr. Chairman, that was a
Yeah.
road closing petition, and we're asking for authority to move forward with that road closing. You pending the, you still waiting on EMS? Yes. Yeah, pending response from EMS.
I move that we accept the council's recommendation to move forward as he recommended. Second.
Okay, I got a motion.
That correctly.
Okay.
You have to amend it by saying
You move that
what
the-
EMS said.
Yeah.
Depending what EMS said.
Okay. I got a motion, it's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 3C.
Item 3C, Mr. Chairman, members of council, that was a contractual matter, and it's my understanding that requires no action of council. That was just for information.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right. Next item is what?
That is item 25.
C.
C.
Oh, wait a minute. What about B?
B. We just did it. B.
B.
This is you.
25, 3 and 25,
25.
4.
What? It's 25B or C?
25, it's on BRC.
Yes, it is.
25, 3.
What?
I mean, C.
What are you talking about?
All right. We've already done that.
We did the operation
All right.
pass.
So we did.
So it's 25B.
B, okay. Come into work, go ahead. That Chinese
It's a restrooms issue.
restroom. You want to make it? Committee recommends, committee recommends that staff would move forward with the original plan for the restrooms. If the contractor can build it at the original cost, move forward. If not, then it comes back to council. That's the recommendation.
Okay, that's the committee's recommendation. Any discussion?
It wasn't second.
It doesn't
It's a
out of the
recommendation.
committee.
Oh, recommendation.
All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 25C.
This is the one.
Okay. 25C, the committee recommended that we'll move forward with the contract with an amendment to add that any funds over the proposed annual operating costs, the funds be returned back to council.
Okay, that's the committee's recommendation. Discussion, Ms. Dickerson.
I thought they said you were supposed to give me an explanation, or we don't need any further explanation on this item? Did Mr. Jackson explain that the way we supposed to be voting on it? And that includes what you have in your little piece of paper down there?
The amendment will address that. The amendment that Mr. Jackson
The
mentioned.
amendment that he
Can you come
just
up to the
said.
mic?
Would you please explain that before I raise my hand or say yeah or nay or whatever?
The amendment that Mr. Jackson mentioned regarding, we'll look at the cost for the foundation to run the operations, and then anything above and beyond that, those funds will be returned back to the county.
If they collect more than the amount.
That's correct. If they collect more than what is estimated as the operation cost, those funds would be returned back to the county. So that would be the amendment that we make to the agreement.
We have designated what those funds are, right?
Not
What
yet.
that cap
That's
is.
part of what I have
We have
to.
not designated how much it's gonna be.
That's correct.
Mr. Washington, and then Mr. Manning.
So you're saying, once staff establish a benchmark of operation cost, anything beyond that amount has to be refunded back to the county?
That's correct.
Once you establish that?
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Mr. Manning.
Can you tell me again what the status is of all their nonprofit paperwork?
My understanding is it's pending, and I don't know if Mr. Smith can elaborate on that.
Can.
What does it mean by pending? What does it generally mean by pending?
It hadn't been approved.
Yeah, I think it means that no formal action has been taken on the application to approve it. It could be in the process. It could be in review status.
501 exempt status.
Yeah, and
It's been
so
approved by the state, not the Fed, 501c3 exempt status, yes, yeah.
so the only information that we have is that it's pending, and there was no further explanation as to where it was in the process.
That's a tax clarification. That's a tax exempt piece of 501c3. The nonprofit organization is established. They apply for the 501c3. That's pending on, and that takes however much months it may take.
The reason why I asked, it was in the original agreement that was sent out before as a 501c3. If it's not needed, what's the significance of even having that in the agreement?
Okay. It was our understanding initially that they were a 501c3 organization. We asked questions about that to try to verify that they had their 501c3 status. It's my understanding that the information my office got was that they were a nonprofit organization. However, they had not formally been established as a 501c3 at this time. So rather than saying that they were, we took that out and said that their status as a 501c3 was pending, which was more accurate than saying they were.
So with that being said, that's in the agreement that was sent, that wasn't in the agreement that was sent out before, last week?
No, but that was in the agreement that was approved by the committee today.
All right, Mr. Manning.
Was it our lawyer or their lawyer that put in that it was a 501c nonprofit?
We put that information initially in the agreement because that's what we were told.
By their attorney?
Who told you that?
I don't know who made the statement because I wasn't personally involved. Someone on my staff was that actually
Clarification.
wrote the agreement.
Tell me the clarification.
One more.
Sure.
All right.
It was asked for staff to develop a contractual agreement for operations and to draft up something and bring it forward. That's what was drafted by staff and brought forward. The committee, the foundation was formed for operations of the facility because the county did not provide any funding for staffing to operate the facility. So the community got together and formed a non-profit organization to run it, which they are doing now, right? When they asked staff to draft up an agreement to make it legit, staff came up with those language about the 501c3. When asked the non-profit organization, they said they're not a 501c3 yet. They are a non-profit organization, but they haven't got the tax exempt status, which means that they cannot apply for grants from anywhere until they receive that status. That's all that means. 501c3
So,
apply for grants.
you still have the floor, Mr. Manning.
So the addition that the committee saw and we've not seen, but we've heard about, who will do the audit of that? When the auditors do the whole county budget, do they go out and do that? Who will be the independent auditor of the funds that have come in to make the determination as to whether there should be quote-unquote profit coming back to the county on this change that we just heard about?
Mr. Manning, as I recall, and I don't have the agreement in front of me or the proposed agreement in front of me, but I believe the agreement called for the foundation to submit a monthly report, financial report to the county of its revenue collections. And again, just thinking out loud, I would think that our finance department, in receiving that report, reviewing it, and then making the comparison of what was collected versus what we've determined it actually costs to operate, that would be the monthly audit or review process of those revenue collections.
Okay, so like the whole county budget that has an independent audit process, that's not going to be in place?
If the funds run through the county's books, then yes, that would in some way be attached or associated with the annual independent audit too.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dickerson.
I heard two things, that this organization, at this particular point in time, is not duly authorized because it does not, it has not received its final approval from the feds or whoever we're supposed to get this information from to make them a 501c3 or to authorize them as a 501c3. Is that what I heard, Mr. Smith?
It's my understanding that they are not yet a 501c3 organization. However, they are a nonprofit organization, which is what we put in the agreement.
By the state.
So what
And
is
so-
the difference, the nonprofit and a does a nonprofit can operate with county funds without being a 501c3?
Yes.
I-
Can I clarify?
One second.
Right now, I'm talking to Mr. Smith.
Okay,
What is our grant? Isn't that a grant issue?
that's a grant issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I think we have some requirements for our nonprofit organizations that may be 501c3 that get grants, but I'm not familiar with that process.
So we have
But this particular organization isn't getting a grant.
Okay.
okay, so we're not getting a grant, but we're going, so in other words,
You got the floor, Mr. Dickerson.
so in other words, if this organization fail as a 501c3, does not get all of their approval status as a 501c3 within this 2015-16 budget, will we be getting somebody else to operate, or will they continue to operate as a nonprofit under this, for this particular thing? Mr. Smith?
One second.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, please.
The contract itself is for a year, and there's no provision in the contract currently that indicates that the contract will terminate or cease if they don't get their 501c3 certification.
So they will continue to operate?
Unless-
So we wouldn't
unless-
be able to require any, if they don't, so will we still be able to require those monthly reports that you just asked us for, that they're supposed to give us? So who's going to be
Yeah.
responsible? That's all I want to know, the responsible person
Okay.
or organization for all of this we're about to approve.
Okay, what the agreement provides for, Ms. Dickerson, is that the foundation will submit to the county a detailed monthly financial report, which the agreement indicates would be sent to Mr. Fosnight as a capital projects manager. How that will flow through our audit process would be something that I guess finance would have to deal with, but there is a requirement that any monies collected and the amounts of those funds would have to go into a detailed report on a monthly basis to come back to Mr. Fosnight. That's part of the agreement.
And still have the floor, Mr. Chair? And I really, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this publicly, and I don't care how anybody take it, but I'm just say this, when we are dealing with this particular project, we're looking at it, it doesn't matter whether it was in my district or whose district, this is a countywide project, is this correct? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a countywide project, it's open to everybody. And it's not for one particular group or community. This is a countywide project. Is that correct? Thank you.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson. Mr. Jackson.
Clarification. When you're registered by the state as a non-profit organization, you're a legal non-profit organization. What a 501c3 designation means is that you can apply for grants for tax-exempt purpose. Normally, an organization, even the county, will not give you grants unless you have the tax-exempt status. Businesses will not give you a grant unless you have a 501c3 tax-exempt status, so they can get tax credit for giving you funds. That's all a 501c3 status means. This organization is not asking for grants from the county
Right now.
to operate. Well, in the future, they have to have a 501c3 to do it, if they want to. But currently, they do not need a 501c. Your questions, what you're asking, was to understand the process of a 501c3.
I got it.
And I'm telling you what, you know
One
what?
moment.
that's what-
I got it,
One moment,
mister. Don't
Miss-
say I don't have it. I refuse for you to tell me I don't have it.
One moment, Ms.
I got the floor.
Dickerson.
Right?
And please direct your
I answered the
questions.
you asked. Right? A 501c3 is just a tax exempt status. That's all it is. Right? You cannot get a grant unless you have a 501c3 status. The organization and in the contract, they're not asking for a grant. And if they decide to ask for a grant, they have to have the 501c3 status to get the grant. So far, have they sent any report in to us yet?
Yes, we've had one report come in.
They have sent in a report. They're operating the facility. They're not asking you for a dime. We do not provide any money to operate this facility. So the place is open, and the citizens got together and formed a non-profit organization to run, and they're volunteering and running the facility. I don't see what's hard because they do not have the 501c3 yet, that we're gonna say, okay, do not give them the contract. If you want, don't give them the contract. But so far, they're running the facility. And we just want to have an agreement to protect us as a county. And as the attorney, when I asked him to draft up the contract, it's about the interest of the county to make sure we're not liable. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney?
That's correct.
And that's why the contract was drafted, by you and your staff. Thank you very much.
I got Washington and Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right now, currently, we have the rowing facility, correct?
Yes.
Is there an organization that oversees the operation of that rowing facility?
Mr. Washington, we are contracted with the Columbia Rowing Club. They do events at the site. I think do some maybe very minimal maintenance. I think our in-house staff does the majority of the maintenance of the property.
Do they generate revenue from their events? Or,
I don't know, to be honest. We can check that. I do know that they have, based on the information they provided to us, they do have free programs for example, for those who can't afford to participate. I know they do programs like that, but whether or not they generate any revenue, I don't know. We can check
Who's
that.
responsible for operations over there, the maintenance of the facilities, the grounds?
At the rowing
Right.
center, again, that's our special services department. I'm sorry, the support services department is maintaining the property itself.
So at this current time, you don't know if those events that they hold with those universities that come down, that rowing club, what is it, Columbia's Rowing Club?
It's the Columbia Rowing Club is the organization that does the events, yes. I don't think those who participate, the schools who come to practice, I don't think they pay to do that. I think one of the benefits of having them here is, of course, having them visit from out of town, out of state, and, of course, staying for several days and spending dollars in Richland County. But, again, I'm not sure about that, but we can check that.
Please do. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is going to be my last question. So, Mr. Smith, what I think I'm hearing you say is with that contract that you have in front of you with the modifications, that this foundation will be doing all operations and have all liability at the point this council passes this.
Well, what I'm saying, Mr. Manning, is that in terms of the operations, they will be doing the operations as stated in the contract, those things that it indicates in the contract that they should be doing. There are provisions in the contract that we've put in there that I believe protect the county from the standpoint of indemnification, hold harmless, and those kinds of things which are designed to protect the county. It was my understanding that they were out there doing this operation. We thought it would be better that we have an agreement in place rather than have them out there without an agreement. So we were asked to draft one, so this is what we came up with.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Mr. Rose.
Mr. Smith, I keep hearing
Can you
they're already doing the
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Yeah.
They're already doing the operation. Who gave them the authority to already start?
Yeah, I can't answer that question. All I was asked to do was draft the agreement.
I keep hearing that they're already doing this, and I'm wondering why they're already doing this on county property.
Yeah, I can't answer that question. I was told that they were out there doing
So if we are opening a facility somewhere, then people first to come and start working on the property, then that's how we operate, and then we just enter the contract with them.
Well, I can't answer that question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose. Any more discussion?
Let me just make one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pierce.
You know, going back to the original purchase, I never wanted to buy this property to begin with, but the majority of the council voted to buy it. And so once the majority spoke, I saw it as part of my purpose was to try to make the best out of a bad situation. And that's where we are right now, is making the best out of what I don't think is the best situation in the world. But we have this group, they're down there, they're operating with no agreement with us whatsoever, and at least this provides some agreement between us and the people that are down there. How they got there, I don't want to get into that, but they're there. They are working. They've been down there for 2 months now. They've already filed a report, and we have nothing, no agreement, no document at all. So I'm very concerned that we don't have something, and at least this establishes something. If we don't like it, we'd change it. But I think we need some sort of relationship with people that are down there making decisions on behalf of the county and collecting money. So I'm going to support this. Maybe not as the best situation in the world, but it's something that at least gets us some sort of relationship with the people that are down there. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Any more discussion? All in favor, or the motion on the table is to move forward with the agreement as amended. Is that correct?
As amended.
As amended. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Jackson, Pierce, Dickerson, Washington.
All opposed?
Opposed, Rose, Rush, Manning.
That motion carries.
Okay, I'll move to reconsider so we can expedite this and move this forward.
Second.
Got a motion for reconsideration. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of reconsideration signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion
You want to show
fails.
hands on that?
That motion fails. Next, we have, that's all those items from executive
Yes,
session?
that's all those items, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have motion period, a resolution recognizing Chaplain Carnell Johnson on being named 2015 Correction Volunteer of the Year.
Move for unanimous consent.
Got a motion for unanimous consent.
Second.
It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Second we have is move the Richland County Council pass a resolution requesting the state legislatures remove the Confederate battle flag from the State House grounds.
Move for unanimous consent.
Got a motion for unanimous consent. It's been properly second. Discussion. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make my statement for this matter and the next one, and I will vote against this resolution on principle. When we adopt resolutions, we are normally speaking on behalf of our constituents, and usually we're reasonably sure how our constituents feel. This, however, is a very divisive issue in my district, and there are many passionate people on both sides. It would not be right for me to attempt to speak on their behalf when they are split on the issue, and I can't be sure if there is an overwhelming majority one way or the other based on conversations I've had since this motion came forward. And that will be my reason. Thank you.
Need to ask for a ruling because I think it's not unanimous. I don't know that a resolution.
But that's the first resolution, isn't it?
Carry the motion, Mr. Rush.
Yes, but I don't know whether it has to go to committee or not. I'm not sure.
Mr. Smith, if with unanimous consent, if one council member votes against it, does it go to a committee at that point, or does it just fail, the resolution itself?
You don't send the resolution back to a committee that I'm familiar
I just want
with.
clarity.
Yeah.
All right. You got a motion. You got clarification.
He said you don't send it back to it was not a committee. So you
I thought that's what he asked.
That's what he asked.
I thought that was the question.
Well, the question is, does it go to a committee? It doesn't go to a committee.
Does not.
It just fails.
It would
Yes.
fail?
Okay.
Yeah.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
One moment. Mr. Washington.
All right. Traditionally, resolutions go where? If this is, the chair appoints.
They come to the council.
And chair appoints, sends a resolution to what
No.
committee?
Now, typically, we ask for unanimous consent on it.
But if you don't get it, it goes to a
But if
committee.
It doesn't
if
go
we
to-
do not raise unanimous consent or motion, where does it go?
Okay, let me back up. I thought the question was whether or not there was unanimous consent for approval of the resolution.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's what the motion on table.
Right.
Is for unanimous consent for approval of this resolution.
Point of
Right.
clarification. If I withdraw the unanimous consent and we just vote on the resolution,
Right. So that was
I
the,
withdraw the unanimous
Yeah.
consent.
Okay. All right.
I
So
second
now we
that.
just vote, right?
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Majority rules.
Right.
Okay, I got a motion on the table that's been amended to approve this resolution, requesting that the state legislators remove the Confederate battle flag off State House ground. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Dickerson, Washington, Manning.
All opposed?
Opposed, Malinowski.
All right, that motion carries. Next item, Ms. Dixon. Next item,
Mr. Chair,
Ms.
we don't need to get a motion to reconsider that item?
No, it carries.
It's good and solid.
Request for
So when it's written up, Mr. Malinowski's name won't appear on that thing, is that correct?
pass a resolution.
Thank you.
Won't put his name on.
And I didn't mean to say thing, I apologize for that. It won't appear on the resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
So, just for clarification, Mr. Jackson, with your motion, is it basically, it was the same thing, right? So will you,
I don't know. I made a motion and I drafted a resolution. Mr. Rose said to draft a resolution, which is different.
huh?
I
Clarify
keep my
that.
motions non-verbose so we know what we're voting on.
Mr.
Like,
Rose
just get
wants
the
to have a
point.
motion, right? a resolution, but he doesn't say what's in the resolution.
Well,
He
we don't,
does.
I don't, or should I start writing motions for resolutions where we say whereas, I mean, I
Yeah,
made
staff
it
does it
very
for us.
clear. Make it very clear when you make a motion.
I mean, don't be scared.
Clarification, Mr. Chairman.
No, one second. Clarification, Mr. Washington.
To Mr. Jackson, this is the verbiage that you want to include in the original?
Yes. Normally, when you do a resolution, right, there's some documents or some literature that goes with it, right? I prepare the literature that goes with it, so staff doesn't have to do a research and come up with their version of what I'm trying to say,
Gotcha.
right?
But to include this language in the resolution that we just voted on?
No, Mr. Rose sent, I sent in a resolution, Mr. Rose sent in a resolution.
Gotcha.
Mr. Rose was just to move the battle flag. My resolution was explaining why we should remove the battle flag. The Confederate battle flag, not Virginia Confederate battle flag.
I'm not gonna get into that.
I can read the resolution if you want me to read it.
Please do.
Please do.
Okay. Request that Richland County Council pass a resolution that states that Governor Nikki Haley and the Richland County Legislative Delegation that Richland County Council will not support racial discrimination and the practice of hate crimes or terrorism, foreign or domestic, against an individuals or specific group of people. As a collective group, Richland County Council is a non-discriminating body who support individual liberty and the pursuit of happiness for all people. We respectfully request that immediately action be taken to remove the Confederate battle flag that flies on the grounds of the State House of South Carolina, which sits in the county of Richland.
Okay, so we want a second resolution saying that.
No, no,
Not the second resolution.
So you want this included?
We can, but what I'm saying is, I made a resolution, Mr. Rose made a resolution. I'm not sure what Mr. Rose wanted in his resolution. He didn't say. He just wanted the flag to be removed. I made a resolution, specific language, which is different from his.
How about this? Let's do this. Do you want to put together the resolution, forward it to council,
Yeah.
and have council make any recommendations? We can go forward with a resolution. You can put it together and then forward it to council. And
That'd be fine. My question was going to be if council could respectfully, if they are fine with the language, we can include it because the resolutions are essentially going to accomplish the same.
Specific, I made a specific resolution.
it is
Mr.
on
Rose made
record.
one, it's separate.
your motion is on record.
And I'd like to vote on my motion, not incorporated with Mr. Rose's motion.
It's the same
We
motion.
already did
Well,
his.
that's what I'm asking, if council will vote on that motion, and then if Mr. Rose is okay with it, with including his motion in with the language that Mr. Jackson proposed.
It's two separate motions.
I think we need to deal with two separate motions here.
Okay.
I made a motion with specifics. Mr. Rose made another motion with specifics. He and I didn't join together to make a motion together. It's two, I made my motion, he made his motion. We can have two resolutions from two different council
You
members.
just bring it back.
Okay.
Just bring it back. All right, we got a motion on the table for approval of a resolution as stated. Do you want unanimous consent or
Just vote on it. Individual can vote on it.
Mr. Malinowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I agree with everything that Councilman Jackson says on that up until the statement I gave about the flag before.
Okay, thank you.
Point of clarification here. So we're going to have two separate resolutions? Is what you're saying?
No, we can incorporate,
No, that's not what we said.
Once the body
Jackson
takes,
keeps saying.
No.
once the body takes action on Mr. Jackson's motion, then I'll ask the subsequent question. But I think we probably just need to take action on Mr. Jackson's motion first, and then we can come back and ask the body if they're okay with just being one resolution.
Might be time sensitive. By the time we get done.
Didn't we not just vote on Mr. Rose's motion?
We did, yes, ma'am.
And we didn't ask for any verbiage. We were going to do like we normally do when we do a motion, that we let the clerk do it and fix it and send it, let us review it, and then we approve it. Isn't that the way what we just voted on for Mr. Rose?
Yes, ma'am.
Boom. So now this is a second one. Now Mr. Jackson.
A different one, not the second one.
Well, this is this will be number two because that's number one. Okay, excuse me, Mr.
what, you have the floor, Ms. Dixon.
Miss
McDaniels.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes, and I missed.
This particular motion It's going to be a motion that Mr. Jackson is making with the verbiage that he just read.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what he wants included in his motion regarding the removal of the flag and our support of the removal of the flag. So he is asking us to approve the verbiage and the language that he just read
Yes, ma'am.
for his resolution.
Clarification.
Is that what I not
Thank you,
heard?
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Clarification.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. I'll recognize you in a second. One moment. You done, Mr.
I
Dickerson?
think so.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Every resolution I have sent forward, I've always included language. What staff does is put the whereas in it. But I've always included, I never just send a resolution and ask staff to do something that I didn't ask for. It's my thoughts, right? And I never send a resolution to have staff's thoughts in my resolution. I've always sent the language with my resolution. So this is nothing new. So if that's what you're doing in the past, that's fine. But I want anything I send, right? The discussion, the thoughts is my idea, and staff put it in the language of whereas and therefore be it resolved. I've always done it that way. I've never depended on staff to speak what I'm thinking, and I'll never do that. So when I made my defense, Mr. Rose, he said remove the flag and staff will create some language which is not his idea but the staff's idea. What I did, I created my language, which is my idea.
That's not
right?
accurate. One moment, Mr.
My
Rose.
colleagues can either agree or disagree. That's
Chair.
it.
One moment.
Mr. Chair.
One moment. Done, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Rose. I'm sorry, I got you.
I'm just going to make a comment that we really need to get a handle on the professionalism of this council. I agree that we can disagree on issues, but we can do it in a cordial manner. We don't have to agree and we won't agree. But it's very disheartening, and this is becoming more and more common practice from certain members of this body.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Ms. Dickerson.
Ms. Dickerson, and to clarify, my colleague, when we make a statement regarding our colleagues, we need to make sure we have the facts before we make those statements, because I think any resolution that I have sent, I've sent backup documents and allowed the clerk to help me tweak it so we know how to put the whereas. So for someone to quote unquote assume that this does not happen, I think it's really unfair for someone to assume and make that kind of a statement publicly. And I want to clarify that any resolution that I sent, I always try to give supportive documents to support whatever resolution or whatever the other one we do. Proclamation, I've always sent the information, so we should not assume those kinds of things on different council members.
All right.
And before I finish on that, I understand that language that was written, but I mean, that's probably not the way in which I would want to say that. So I mean, for the vote on it, I would like to have the language so that I can feel comfortable on how I'm going to vote on it. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
As
Then
for
we'll
my
call for
colleague to
vote.
the immediate right, talking of professionalism, our job is to debate an issue. I did not see anything unprofessional in our debate and our passion for what we believe in. So when my colleague may say, well, you wish there be more professionalism, right? Your thoughts, my belief, my faith may be different. But I do have that right to passionately defend what I believe in. Now, when it comes to talking about the language, I put the language on the backup. The staff put it in the whereas. If you agree with it, fine. If you don't, fine, you vote against it. But every resolution we have, right, is a council member's thought. Is what they would want, is the language they would want. The staff just put the whereas to it. And that's it. So either we agree, I mean, my colleague may make a resolution. I may not agree with every detail of the language, but I agree with the principle, and I usually support it. This case is the Confederate battle flag. I know this is the longest discussion we ever have on a resolution is about this battle flag.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
The motion on the table is for resolution with the following language. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Rose, Jackson, Rush, Washington, I'm sorry.
All opposed?
Opposed, Malinowski, Pierce, Dickerson.
Carries. All right.
Two resolutions.
Item D, that will go to Rules Committee.
Move to adjourn.
Chair, entertain a motion for adjournment. It's been, got a motion for adjournment. Got a motion for adjournment. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?